All right, to be determined Friday show, episode 10. Experimenting a little bit with some audio stuff here. So if it sounds awful, we'll fix it for next week. But if it sounds good, then disregard that. At Travis Matt, at Sports by Bond. What's the word, Matt?
Open.
The Open Championship. From Royal Birkdale. I didn't get a chance to see much of this yesterday. Yesterday I was completely unplugged from the world, which was not good. But I've got the leaderboard in front of me, and there's 3 Americans in the top 6 players right now. Spieth is leading it at 5 under. I'm kind of shocked to see that he shot a 65 yesterday.
And today he's dealing with some stuff on the back here. Well, not even just the back 9. I'm not even sure if he's delved into that yet, but just the fact that a lot of people had trouble with the wind early today over there. And in the end, it might be the better of the 2 halves of the day for round 2 there at Royal Birkdale, because now the rain came in. And I don't know. I don't know if Spieth's going to have a good end to his round here, even though he's kind of staying the course right now and he's not getting too far back. I did see him bogey on 1 hole. But that's a big storyline where, gosh, you think there's just going to be one big weather phenomenon in just one day, and now there's 2 in 1 round, and it's the entire field is getting hit.
It wouldn't be an Open Championship if there wasn't some sort of weather. And we looked at it on the podcast. We looked at it last Sunday, and like I said, we pulled up the weather report, and it was going to be nasty. It was going to be typical British weather, if you will. So the fact that Spieth was 5 under, honestly, if he can maintain just roughly par golf for the next 3 rounds, which obviously is going to be very difficult given the conditions, but if he can remain at 5 under, that might be good enough to win it. I was thinking even par would be good enough to win this thing, given just how difficult the course is and how treacherous the conditions were going to be, or at least how treacherous they looked on paper.
Yeah, there's not many guys that are under right now. And like you said, and it's not a surprise. Like you said, we looked at it Sunday, going into Monday on this most recent episode of the podcast. No surprise. I mean, it's an Open. We didn't even have to look at the weather forecast. We knew it was going to happen. And it's just killing guys right now. But, geez, in terms of storylines, maybe even bigger than this crazy weather in round 2, it's got to be Rory McIlroy. Unbelievably bad front 9 on day 1. He bogeyed 4 of his first 5 holes. But then he completely turned it around. I think it was birdies on 4 of his last 8. And then today, he's just killing it. Today, he's killing it. And it's big, just a huge, huge turnaround for a guy who's playing at least much closer to home than he usually does, someone who's looked at 20-1 odds coming into this, which I think was kind of a calling card for him for this Open Championship. But it's definitely maybe the biggest storyline going forward.
2 under today, shot a 68. So he's actually under par right now, tied for 9th. Your boy Brooks Koepka is +1 today, but he was minus 5 yesterday. He shot a 65 as well.
He's a big dog yesterday. Big dog.
Real good round. Ian Poulter is up there, and you talk about a guy with experience. There's Poulter.
Yeah, Ian Poulter, I mean, this is a guy, I don't know if I think that little ring was on mine. I don't know if you heard it, but so it definitely threw me.
The microphone.
Yeah, I think it was some kind of tone on this laptop. Whatever. So Ian Poulter, great story. Obviously, huge name, especially overseas there. But he had to make it as a local qualifier. But he went out last week, the Scottish Open. We were talking about the Scottish and the Irish Open and how those are such good preparations. Talk with Marty Nowicki, our big-time golf guy. And is really showing. He's killing it so far. And this is a guy who barely made the field. It's big. It's big.
Sergio struggled day 1, shot a 73. Today he's finished -1, so he's back to +2. Ricky's consistent, 71-71. And honestly, +2 is not a bad...
It's not.
Rounds. That's not
There's so many
spot to be. It looks bad because he's tied for 31st, but in my mind, he's going to make the cut. I don't think that there's going to be a ton of movers on day 2 here where +2 is not going to get it done. But is he 7 shots behind out of contention now?
No, because there's so many guys up towards the top that are like at even. Really, there's only like a handful of guys that are really sticking under right now. So that's not bad at all. If you're in the top 30, I think it's pretty close. I mean, yes, there's a little bit of separation for those top like 3 guys, but you never know, especially with the weather. But going back to Sergio Garcia, well, if you're talking about it, coming into this, he had made 10 top 10s in his 20 Open Championship appearances. And this is a guy who's just not only struggling when it comes to actual golf, but this thing called a gorse bush, which is like a staple of the terrain there at Royal Birkdale. And he like got in a fight with it, and he hurt his shoulder. So he's not only not golfing well, but a gorse bush, which sounds like it's something out of Dr. Seuss. He's like hitting it after a bad shot. His club's getting caught. He needs to go see a trainer because he hurts his shoulder. It's kind of like Dustin Johnson slipping on a sock. It's insult to injury, or injury to insult, insult being just not being that great on the course. And then he has something crazy absurd happen like that. Poor Sergio.
What's worse? Embrace a little bit of a debate here, I guess. What's worse? Falling with socks on inside a house, or getting in a fight with a bush with a name of whatever the heck you just...
It was a gorse bush. It's got to be. It's called a gorse bush. That loses for me. Sergio loses.
Oh man, see, at least he's on the course though. I would say Dustin Johnson's worse because he wasn't even on the course.
He might miss. Well, plus, geez, DJ might miss another cut.
Yeah, isn't that insane? It's going to be what, 4 straight for him? It's just insane. He's going to lose that #1 title. I think he's going to lose the #1 ranking.
But in terms of embarrassing,
God forbid Rory come through with a top 5 finish. Then, to me, he's got to go back to #1.
And speaking of embarrassing, so you had the big prediction on Sunday of Tommy Fleetwood. I'm just kidding. It was me. And
no, I embraced him with you. I was right there. Or endorsed him, rather.
The hometown kid. He was 6 over yesterday. What's going on?
That's his course.
Oh, my gosh. He did have a funny story, like one of the funniest bites from all the press events so far. He's talking about his first one as a fan at Royal Birkdale. I think, well, Open Championship in general. I'm not sure if it was at Birkdale. 98. He was just mad he couldn't get a lot of autographs, so he was like walking around forging autographs so he could show his friends at school.
And your boy Patty Harrington, the last champion from
oh yeah,
not good. Double bogeyed the second, followed it with a bogey on 3. Did get a birdie on 5, but started the back with a bogey. So he's +1 in the day and +6 overall. So it doesn't look good for him. I doubt he makes the cut. +6, just right now the projected cut looks like it's right at +4. And I believe Justin Rose is like the last guy right now, as it stands, projected to make the weekend.
A lot of boogers for him. A lot of boogers, and I think he's kind of past his prime, unfortunately. He was such a big name. He was right at like the start of Tiger kind of falling out of like the top light of this sport, and he was one of the first guys that kind of put himself in that big time name contention there at the very top, and just hasn't sustained very long, unfortunately.
I'm trying to look up where Phil is here. Mickelson.
So Ernie
shot 73, 77. He's +10. He won't make the cut. So lefty left the driver at home, and I guess that wasn't.
You think he like physically left it at home? I feel like that's like a big deal.
Well, I mean, not like physically. I'm sure he brought it with him, but he's leaving it out of his bag. Matthew. All right. Let's move to O.J. Freed. Not going to say the phrase that everyone's saying and you didn't want me to say.
Because, geez.
Free man in 4 months.
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, I don't know a lot about the legal system because it's just kind of ridiculous to begin with. But that's a story for another day. But it's the fact that everyone's like, yes, parole, he's out. Not really.
Were there actual people
October, November. I don't know. There's some like you go on Facebook and there's some either to or fro about a decision like this because it was so polarizing when it happened back in the day, and then obviously it gets put into people's minds a lot recently with the television shows. But I don't know. It's just the fact that it doesn't happen for real for another 4 months or so, it kind of takes away a lot of the luster
Yeah, it's
of
weird.
the decision.
Some of the things he was saying yesterday, how he's conflict-free life.
That's the big one. That's the big takeaway. What?
Culpable of the murders. Now, he wasn't found guilty by a jury of his peers, but he was found culpable in a civil case. So we're missing something here. We're totally missing something here. He had a number of different lines that were. It was very. I think strange is the best word to describe that parole hearing yesterday.
Bizarre.
Bizarre is another good way to describe it. It's just, I don't know. And then the fact that you're a freed man. He's now a freed man, but he's got to go back for 4 months. And then I think he's got a year and a halfway house. The rumor, or at least I think what he was saying was he wanted to go spend time with his kids, which is, from what I understand, down in the Tampa St. Pete area.
Oh yeah,
So the same town of one senior producer, Mitch Baluco.
Mitch Mula.
So
Hey, he came up with the nickname, so we might as well adhere to it. That's his idea.
very strange. I mean, OJ's 70. Recently turned 70 years old. Earlier this month. He's going to collect it. The other weird story to this is that he's going to collect over $600,000 from his NFL pension. So he's going to leave jail. First of all, he's going to be freed, and second of all, he's going to leave with a huge chunk of change in his pocket. And they asked him what he was going to do as a free
Steakhouse?
He mentioned something about blogging or some sort of online show or something to that effect, and I'm like, who's going to watch? I mean, I guess America's so fascinated by this guy. I'm sure he could gather some sort of audience because for the longest time now, we've just been enamored with what is the next move for OJ. And as you mentioned on the podcast, all the recent documenting of his life and documenting of the murders and everything that has happened since then, it's created almost a second coming, a second buzz of OJ.
But the question becomes, like you just mentioned, like we mentioned on the show this Sunday, yes, there's been some very popular things shown on television recently involving his story. But are people going to want to see television shows, so on and so forth, about his story or him? So it remains to be seen whether something with him, actual O.J. Simpson, not Cuba Gooding Jr., or former him in documentary tapes, is going to be popular with him right now. But I guess I'm a little bit surprised at the decision because, like you said, he had some crazy lines. Plus, he kind of like crazy eyes to him. Yeah. After all that, I'm surprised at the end of it that's what the decision came out as. I mean, but
there was reports or rumors or whatever you want to call it that during his time in jail, he was basically just treated like the celebrity, and they were like a set of rules for every other prisoner and then the OJ rules. And it's just crazy. The whole scenario, this whole situation, his life is so fascinating.
It really is.
Yesterday was just what happened yesterday should not surprise anyone. It just seemed to be another chapter to me. And it is. Strange is normal for OJ.
And you mentioned crazy. One of those board members, really, was it time for a Crazy Tie Thursday and rocking your Kansas City Chiefs tie? Really?
What was with that guy?
It's Jazzy Tie Thursday.
You're going to be on national television, and that's the tie you decide to go with?
Hey, go Chiefs, okay? Go Chiefs.
Here, all right, so in my brain, I start trying to connect some dots here. The Chiefs, right? OJ never played for the Chiefs. We're sitting in Las Vegas. Where's the connection with the Chiefs? The only connection I could come up with is that his former friend Marcus Allen played for the Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken, for a little while.
Yeah, well, that ended poorly. So
it ended poorly, but it also, if you look, the rumors surrounding Nicole and Marcus during some of the times that there were rough patches for OJ and Nicole, looked like that Marcus and Nicole were an item for a little while. So it's just, I don't know, we're stretching there, but because the facts are so well documented with OJ's life, you almost naturally start to think, what is the meaning? Where's the greater meaning behind this?
Yeah, it'd be very interesting if that was kind of an anti-OJ move for him to see that and be like, oh, that brings to light the fact that my now ex-wife was with the Kansas City Chief.
It could have just be as simple as this guy's a football fan, and it was one sign to
Just a boo.
hey,
He's
you're
a
going to be in the clear.
He's just a boo.
Yeah. Oh,
That guy.
So bad. So bad. All right, let's move to Hugh Freeze suddenly resigning. Tampa, a sudden theme in the 10th episode of the Friday show. Apparently, Hugh Freeze was contacting strippers, an escort service. I think it was maybe an escort service.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
It's more PG to say the second thing you just said.
Okay. All right.
But on a school issued, on an athletic department issued cell phone,
You got to know better. Have some smooth. Have some smooth.
where's the chill at? Where's the chill? But it's funny that, again, we go back to the state of Florida, which is just beautifully lawless sometimes.
Pretty standard in Florida. I mean, it's probably a standard issued thing in Florida, but
It's like 911. It's already built into the contacts on a cell phone when you get it at the store. But it's crazy that this is what gets Hugh Freeze, because a lot of people thought there would be some big-time recruiting violations because, geez, they had classes for a while. They were getting Laramie Tunsil, or they're getting Robert Kimdichie, they're getting Laquan Treadwell. These are tip-top guys. You're thinking Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a pretty big name now because of that. And then Chad Kelly he's not as big of a prospect that going into the college game.
it's a big name, though, and where he was coming from. He was a Clemson guy, went to the Mississippi Community College there. I mean, not that he's as big of the names that you just dropped, but he's still a big name.
Yeah, so now people are like, oh, it's Ole Miss. They're going to get big recruits. But before he did that, it was a whole different ballgame. They weren't expected to do anything in the SEC. They were not an everyday or an every household kind of name in the SEC, and all of a sudden that happens. That might come out. It might come to light here going forward, especially now that the first brick has fallen, and bricks fall, I guess. And we'll see. We'll see. But it's just funny that the first real big thing that he has to deal with, the thing that gets him out of there, is not recruiting violation, but rather this.
No, I think that's the point of this whole story. I think you hit the nail right on the head, is that everyone sort of expected after he got like a top 3 recruiting class, and he's gotten some top recruits like just out of left field.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what was going to bring Hugh Freeze down. Not this. Not the Bobby Petrino method. I mean, this is...
Patino,
whatever it is. No, and Rick, too.
add him to the list.
Golly. I mean, that's just... another just, I guess, surprising and strange story. Not surprising in the ultimate result because, as you alluded to, you sort of thought with the way Ole Miss is getting these kids, there's got to be something maybe sketchy about this. So Hugh Freeze ultimately resigning from Ole Miss, not surprising. Why he resigned.
Resigning.
Yeah, exactly. So just a lot of strange stories on this Friday heading into this weekend. Anything else on Hugh Freeze?
Houston Nutt. Bring him back. Bring back Houston Nutt.
Yes, so. All right, let's move.
Man of the Lord.
Let's move to the crazy weather that hit Western New York. Our thoughts with everyone affected by this crazy tornado that touched down, in Hamburg, I believe it was?
There ended up being 2. I forgot what the other town was, but it was on the entire opposite side for the most part of the Buffalo area. And gosh, upstate New York, especially Western New York, you never get tornadoes. I can't believe I'm hearing tornado up here. Yes, Rochester. Yeah, Rochester got hit with hurricane force winds, but tornado is a whole different ballgame. And God, I don't know when the last time upstate New York got a tornado in general, but it's probably been decades. We're not like in the Midwest or in the South somewhere. It's absolutely absurd.
You don't think living in upstate New York that you'd ever have to deal with tornadoes. We get that it's going to be cold. We get that there's going to be hail and snowstorms and pretty nasty rainstorms like it hit Rochester. I mean, what Rochester's had to do at the beginning of the summer and now what Buffalo's having to deal with in the middle of the summer. This is a crazy weather summer. I don't think we've ever seen anything quite like this summer in upstate New York. Just something this crazy, and in particular, I mean, what you guys are dealing with out in Western New York. Central New York, we're okay, but I guess we're just sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop at this point.
Yeah, just kind of moving over, sort of.
It's gonna be
but yeah, like
or something.
In Western New York, it was historical drought last summer, and now with summer still left over, I don't know about Buffalo, but I can attest to what Rochester's dealt with. It's the rainiest, and this milestone was hit well before now. It was hit weeks ago. The rainiest summer in the history of Rochester. And then you just mix in kind of these crazy phenomenons on top of that, these out of the ordinary phenomenons. But it's really too bad because just some of the damage. I mean, I think it was Spectrum Buffalo or some outlet out there in Buffalo, obviously, had a video from a porch camera at someone's home, and cars are being picked up. Yeah. Cars are being picked up by this gust.
Trailer that literally physically picked all the way up and slammed right into the car, and it was like the back end of the car sort of spun around. The front where the engine is picked up and moved a little bit, but really it was the back that got picked up, spun around. The trailer came smashing in. The trash can just went flying like a rag doll. I mean, the video was insane. That's the only piece of video I saw from this whole thing. Like I said, I was
me too.
In meetings all day yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to see just the force and the damage this thing happened. I did see Nick Filipkowski tweeted out a video of a tree that was like probably 100 years old, just uprooted, and it was just this massive tree that just got picked up and slammed on its side. The damage was crazy. Now let's spin this to sports. The Porter Cup going on yesterday and the past couple of days out in Buffalo. Your colleague Jenna Cottrell was out there. Did they even get any golf in?
I have to look it up because there was a professional women's event in Rochester that got like some of it done. Okay. And I assume even less, so probably even less than half of a round in terms of the entire field. I would assume with what they dealt with, it was ramped up. The weather conditions over there is what they were able to go with. But, I mean, the Porter Cup's huge, especially around these parts, especially for that age group. And if they got anything out, it had to be bare bones.
Now, Gavin Hall, local Rochester kid, from what I understand, was in like second place?
Yeah, no, he was doing well.
Second time. This is the second year in a row he's done well in this tournament, so.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Let's do it. Let's rock.
This weekend we can promote who we're getting.
Yeah. So Nate Rowan, who is the public relations, social media, and even a little color commentary extraordinaire for the Rochester Red Wings, the AAA affiliate of the Minnesota Twins. He knows his MLB. He's going to be on and talk about that as we really get into the meat of the second half of this MLB season. And along with that, he is one of the guys that runs the Twitter account for the Rochester Red Wings, which you may have definitely heard of, even if you're listening to this outside of upstate New York, because they have gone nationally viral 4 times in 2 weeks, which is big for a minor league team.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. And we've talked about it a number of times on the show, just what a job those guys do. Tim Doohan, the other one that runs the social media stuff for them. Both good guys, both understand the internet, which...
Oh, so well.
it's odd to say in this day and age, but, like, you do have to kind of understand this thing. And our female correspondent, Ashley Carter, going to join us. I pitched a topic to her. We'll see what else we end up deciding to do, but I figure we're in the middle of summer, so we might as well do, like, the best summer dates. If I'm going to take a chick out, where do I want to... What should I do first? Besides ice cream and putt-putt golf, what should I do?
Go see Shamu. Boom.
Where are you going to see Shamu around here?
You got to go find one in the wild.
Okay, all right.
Not in captivity. It's going to be more dangerous. But, hey, it could end up being awesome.
I don't recall ever seeing a wild whale in Lake Ontario, but all right.
Hey, you've never heard of the lake orcas?
Oh, I think we have a title for this show. Oh, man. All right. Make sure you check out Matthew J.P. Traybold. I don't know what your middle name is. I always forget.
Well, Jay is right. I don't know where Paul. Or John Paul. It's just Joseph. Just Jay.
All right. Make sure you check Matthew Joseph Traybold. Making the T symbol with his hands.
No, it's supposed to be Jay.
Oh, okay. There you go. At Trabs Matt. I'm at Sports by Bond. You can check out the show on Twitter at TBD_show, on Instagram, To Be Determined Show, on Facebook, To Be Determined Pod. Email the show, tbdmailman@gmail.com, or the central location for everything now is tobedeterminedshow.com. We officially have a home on the web. Make sure you check that out. You can give a listen to every episode. All the post-game press conferences, all the Friday shows are right up there. Download, subscribe to us on iTunes and Google Play. And you'll be notified whenever the Friday shows pop up because they're more like a pop-up thing at this point, thanks to scheduling.
Yeah.
That's that. We'll see everyone on Monday. Matt, I'll see you on Sunday.
Nope.
Later, boys.
I got a thing.